Welcome back, everybody, to our coverage of Bio 2022 here in San Diego. I'm Greg Slobodkin, Editor-in-Chief of ScienceBoard.net, and I have the privilege of having with me Dr. Jason Litten, who is the former Chief Medical Officer of Artiva Biotherapeutics. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. It's great to be here.
It's great to be here, and as you know, we're here in San Diego, where you live. San Diego has become such an amazing biotech hub over the years, and I mean, I think right now they say it's only behind, Boston and the Bay Area. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like to be a part of this community and what it means, to contribute.
It's a really exciting and vibrant community. I have lived in Boston and San Francisco in prior phases of my life and love those cities, but having the opportunity to come to San Diego and operate in what I describe as an ecosystem that really supports a lot of emerging biotechs to do some really exciting work and provides a talent pool where the right people can get to the right places. So it's great being in San Diego for this.
Absolutely, and you were part of a panel earlier today. I believe the panel was on how to come up with a sustainable portfolio for cell and gene therapy. Can you talk a little bit about what perspective you brought to the panel and what some of the other perspectives might have been?
Sure. So I've spent the past 5 years of my career in cell therapy and focused in cell therapies for cancer patients. So initially I was working on autologous cell therapies, T-cell therapies, CAR Ts as they're described, for cancer patients at Juno Therapeutics up in Seattle. And we actually had some really exciting opportunities to advance some transformative medicines, but we all recognize the limitations of an autologous product. And so as I started to think about what I might want to do after my time at Juno, the opportunity to work on allogeneic NK cells was really exciting to me, and that's what I've been doing for the past 3 years at Artiva.
Gotcha. So the whole autologous versus allogeneic debate, autologous is really where the industry is at now. How do we get to the next phase, which allogeneic would be?
I think there are important kind of scientific and regulatory challenges that we'll need to think through, and we finally have all the tools to do so. So I think we're going to see really important advances that allow us to understand how allogeneic therapies are different from autologous therapies and how best to use them. We have the opportunity to give multiple doses of an allogeneic therapy where autologous therapies are limited in that way. Well, do we want to give multiple doses and how best to provide those? Those questions are just being answered now in the clinic.
So when we talk about cell and gene therapies, generally, there's two challenges that people talk about. One is manufacturing, and the other is delivery systems. Can you sort of address both of those, and what are the encouraging signs that those challenges can be overcome?
So the first challenge, I think, is probably the most important to highlight, which is manufacturing. By the time that I get involved in a cell therapy program, it's usually pretty ready to get into the clinic and to be used to treat patients. And my interactions with regulatory bodies have suggested that while they may be ready for the clinic from a clinical and scientific standpoint, the manufacturing has not yet been refined to a place where the agency is ready to approve it as a therapeutic. And so they've been very supportive, the FDA and others, to provide roadmaps for us to get the CMC where it needs to be. But that is kind of the first, second, and third challenge of bringing new cell and gene therapies to the clinic. Now, your question about how best to deploy these therapies, I think it really depends on the platform that you have and the target that you're going after. Different platforms have different abilities for repeat dosing and also for persistence and expansion. And so we can't try and fit all of our pegs into square holes. We'll need to find the right pegs for the right holes.
Yeah. In terms of cancer, and it sounds like that's been a focus for you in your career, talk to me a little bit about solid tumors versus blood cancers. And it seems like solid tumors, especially with CAR CAR T cell therapy is the challenging area. There's been a lot of early success with blood cancers, but solid tumors are still in the offing.
They are. They present challenges that are unique from hematologic malignancies, but they also represent the largest unmet need. Over 3/4 of cancer patients actually suffer from solid tumors. So demonstrating transformative new therapies in hematologic malignancies is important, but it's only a beginning. And so my role at Juno Therapeutics was to oversee the strategy for our solid tumor programs and to really think about how we best develop new therapeutics that can surmount the challenges that are unique to solid tumors, namely the requirement to traffic to the tumor, the requirement for the cells not to be shut down by the highly immunosuppressive tumor microenvironment, and then the ability to persist and kill tumor cells. And those are 3 areas of inquiry that lots of folks are working on and making a lot of exciting advances on.
Yeah. When it comes to solid tumors, talk to me about antigens, right? There's been discussion about, well, the antigens for blood cancer are a lot easier. At least it's turned out that way. What can be done about antigens for solid tumors?
There are a lot of really interesting solutions out there, but I think you're right in highlighting the importance of a target, especially for cell therapy. If we don't have a target, we really don't have a therapeutic. And so it needs to be the target first, and CD19 and BCMA are wonderful targets in that they are expressed in the vast majority of the malignant tissue, and we're able to live without the cells that are normal. We don't have targets like that in solid tumors. And so we need to think about our opportunity to look for those targets that are expressed more so in solid tumors and try to navigate that therapeutic window to make sure that we're getting enough drug on board to target the tumor, but also not bring with it normal tissue toxicity. And so that's really the therapeutic window that's more of a challenge in solid tumors than it is in hematologic malignancies.
Gotcha. I want to move back for a minute to the panel that you participated in. One of the things that they addressed in coming up with sustainable cell and gene therapies was the idea that, first you have to identify an indication to go after, and maybe you've got a plan for successive indications, but you also have to partner. Partnerships are sometimes important. You can't do it on your own. So talk to me about those two aspects.
So I think partnering is really important, and that's part of the reason why this meeting, Bio, is such an important meeting for us all to come together and share those learnings and try and carve new paths forward. There are 2 reasons why I think, especially for an emerging biotechnology company, partnering is important. The first is purely validation. We know that large pharma is reluctant to partner with biotech and only does so once they've really done a good look behind the curtain. So once you've had that validating partnership, it really allows you, it establishes you as a player on the landscape. The other piece of it is it enables you to go to places where you otherwise might not be able to or not want to go. It provides resources, both financial and infrastructure, that can enable a small company to, like I said, do things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to.
Yeah. So looking at the conference, and we're here on the second day, what do you see as the big takeaway in terms of things that you've learned, things that you're encouraged by?
So in the wake of the pandemic and all of the excess of the mRNA vaccines, there's a lot of excitement here about gene therapy and a lot of discussions about which are the optimal platforms and indications to bring those forward. And I think that's actually really exciting. For me, it's the first major business development meeting since the pandemic. And you can tell that there's a lot of energy here and excitement around it. So it's great to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, Dr. Litten, and please stay with us for more coverage from Bio 2022.